And good afternoon, and hi, everybody. I'm Rich Roste, and welcome to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And it is a beautiful, beautiful afternoon in the Sioux Empire. And it's just been a week or so ago that we had unbelievable weather. But now, right now, you look outside, you wonder where that all went. But it's absolutely gorgeous outside, and I'm sure glad that you made us a part of your afternoon. We'll be talking to the last two games that the Sioux Falls Storm have played. We'll also talk about the IFL. But the last two games we played on Monday, April 16th, the Storm lost to the Arizona Rattlers 48-40 in a game that was postponed from April 14th because of that big blizzard. And then the Storm's win last Saturday, we'll be talking to the coach about that, 65-48 over the Cedar Rapids Titans. Then also on the Kurtiss Riggs Show, we'll be talking to reserve quarterback Dylan Turner, along with Laureate, Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm. A lot of things to talk about with both of them, and especially with Jim about the big night that was out to the Denny Sanford Premier Center during the game, and the amount of money raised is going to be very interesting to find out about all of the funds that have been raised in the last two ball games by the Sioux Falls Storm. The Kurtiss Riggs Show is proudly presented each week by the official Storm sports medicine providers, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Coming up next, the head coach of the Storm, Kurtiss Riggs, and you're listening to the show right here on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN.
So you need to see a doctor.
The biggest difference in Boyer and other truck dealerships is the fact that we're an employee-owned company. From the front of the building with the sales to the back of the building with service and parts, you're dealing with the owner of the company. We have the smallest vehicles all the way up to the biggest vehicles. We're a truck dealer by heart and by design. We deal in the whole gamut of the vehicles. There's not a lot of dealers that do that. This is a relationship business, and I enjoy the relationships a lot.
If you like to bowl, roll on into Eastway Bowl. Hey, wait a minute. Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full of fun entertainment center. There's many things to do. Games, and more games, plus food. Great food. Come into our full-service sports bar and grill where you'll find terrific drinks with our popular late-night specials. Watch all your favorite sporting events at Eastway. Visit our website to make your bowling reservations and find out more about the full fun experience. Eastway Bowl and Entertainment Center, where there's something for everyone.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Roste.
Each week, our opening interview with Storm head coach Kurtiss Riggs is brought to you by the great folks at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, and they've been sponsors since day one. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is. They deliver anywhere in Sioux Falls, and their subs are just breader. And that's not a typo. I didn't slur on that one, but that's what they want me to say. Their subs are just breader, and I can certainly attest to that. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. And, Coach, we're talking about the weather in my opening, and it's hard to believe we were in a big blizzard just over a week ago. And you look outside right now, golf courses are open.
Trying to hang on in my front yard. I noticed that as I was driving up today. How is that thing still surviving? But yeah, beautiful day. I wish I could have been outside more today.
You know, it's hard to believe we actually are halfway through the regular season of the Indoor Football League, Sioux Falls Storm. But we've played 7 games, and at times it seems like it's gone fast. Other times it seems like it's kind of dragged on. What's it felt like for you?
Yeah, when I look at it in hindsight now, I mean, you think, boy, it's gone fairly fast, but there have been many times where I've shared the same sentiments of it's not progressing very quickly. And, the game Saturday night, I felt that way. I felt like that game took forever, especially that second half, the halftime and second half. But, it's been such a weird year with the amount of transactions we've done. It does seem like it's been a lot of season so far.
We'll be talking a little bit more about the transactions and the things going on at the Sioux Falls Storm as far as the team is concerned. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the league right now. There was not a lot of games over the last 2 weekends, and it seems like it's been forever since we've had the Kurtiss Riggs Show because we didn't have one last week because of the ball game with Arizona. But I just wanted to talk about a couple of games. One game that was interesting to us as far as standings are concerned, Iowa defeated Nebraska 41-25. Were you surprised by that amount of points scored and the lack of scoring by Nebraska and the amount of scoring by Iowa?
That would be the game last weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I was. Yeah. I think home field is very important for all teams. And, as Nebraska really got after Iowa in Nebraska, you and I have talked many times where any of these teams, they might win and win easily one week, and then the very next week it could be the complete opposite.
Uh-huh.
And I think, you have 4 teams that have really asserted themselves, and I think amongst those 4, any of them are beatable, and I think it could change just as easily the very next week with all 4 of them.
The other game that we're going to be talking about just a little bit would be Arizona defeated Green Bay 65-33. It wound up being quite a point spread, but there was a time that game was fairly close, that Green Bay held in there pretty well, but then rising. But anything that you know about that game specifically?
Well, I was told that Green Bay came out all pregame and ran their I formation to try to make it, Coach Jardigan, a little bit more credit than that. I mean, those, you're coached to just get fired pretty much for that reason, I think.
Uh-huh.
They're not going to be surprised. So when Green Bay came out and was running a regular offense, it didn't catch them by surprise. And looking at the stats, it looks like Arizona really controlled the game for the most part. I mean, they were able to play both quarterbacks, playing quite a bit. High percentage completion rates, quite a few yards rushing. So it tells me that even if the game was somewhat close at a time, Arizona, it looks...
Rapids was supposed to go up to Green Bay. Green Bay had about 2 feet of snow up there, so that game has been postponed, and they've listed as postponed indefinitely. Have you heard anything? Is there a proposal as far as if that game or when that game would be replayed?
Yeah, I haven't. I've not heard anything on that. Coach Jones, when I asked him, he wasn't sure. He said they had one open date, but it didn't match up with Green Bay. So, I have no idea what the league plans on doing, if they do plan on doing something. And, it's really unfortunate for Green Bay because they get a very good home crowd, and that's a home game that financially you're counting on.
Yeah.
So it would be too bad if they didn't make it up.
The standings right now in the IFL: Arizona 6-1, followed by Sioux Falls 5-2, then Iowa 4-2, Nebraska, who the Storm plays this coming Friday, they are 4-3, Cedar Rapids 1-6, Green Bay 0-6, and that's where the standings shake out right now. And the way the playoffs are going to be this year, the top 4 teams will be in the playoffs. Number 1 will host number 4. Number 2 will host number 3. And during the course of these next 7 weeks, those teams can be jockeying around, and a lot of different things can happen during the course of the next 7 weeks, won't they, Coach?
Yeah, without a doubt, Rich. I mean, I had spoken to Coach Guy yesterday, and he was trying to give me the like I was going to feel sympathy for him that they have to end the season playing Iowa and Nebraska.
Too bad.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, that's terrible, And then I was like, well, we would trade one of those guys for you guys to play us. I would love to play them again. I just, they beat us twice, and you tip your hat to them, and I would love another shot at them. And I guess the only way to look at it is we've got to earn that right to play them.
Yeah.
And the way you earn that is just by taking care of business during the regular season.
Earlier today I was listening to Sports Talk with Craig and John, and you were on there, and you were talking about things going on in your academy, and you were talking about scholarships and things like that. Fill the folks in if you don't mind telling those stories again, because I thought it was very interesting what you're doing out there and how many different people that you've been able to single out and give scholarships to that are going on to play college football.
Well, yeah, thank you. Last year was the first year we created a nonprofit that is a branch of the academy, and it's purely funded off donations. And one of the first things we were able to do was create a scholarship in Charlie Johnson's name, and family of Charlie was the ones that came up with the idea. So we thought it was fitting to name it after the family. And the thing they asked was, I would like this scholarship to help young men or women, if the opportunity is there, to go on to play collegiate sports. And right now the focus has been to go on and help young men play college football, but I could see us eventually getting to where we also help in other sports. And what we do is there's an evaluation of the nonprofit board takes all the applications and we go through them all, and we look at their resumes, we look at their letter of recommendations, we look at the letter they wrote, we factor in all the things, and then where they plan on going and the need, and then we vote on them. And last year we gave 2 away. This year we gave 5 away, and we gave 2 $1,500 scholarships away to one to Jade Vanderwerf from Gregory, that's going to go to SDSU, and then one to Logan Utech from Washington High School, that's going to go play football at Augustana.
Mm-hmm.
And we gave 3 $500 scholarships, one to Andy McCants from Gregory, that's going to USD, one to Colvin Jennis from Sibley, Iowa, that's going to go to Morningside, and then one to Peyton Zabel from Pierre, who a lot of people probably know of Peyton, that's going to go to Augustana to play football and baseball.
But the thing that I thought was really kind of neat, that a lot of those recipients were not from this immediate area, and your outreach has gone out to places that some people don't realize. They think of just Sioux Falls, but it's far-reaching, even into other states.
Yeah, it's really tough, Rich. That's a struggle with, and this year was really a struggle because we had a lot of really good applicants, and you just are like, how do we not look at those? And as we looked at all of them, we just, let's do the 2 $1,500 ones, and let's do 3 $500 ones to try to help out. Last year, the 2 recipients, one was from Woolsey, and then one was from Hills Beaver Creek. So, even those weren't from Sioux Falls. Right. Logan Utech, I guess, would be the first one to receive one from Sioux Falls. But you do get a lot from outside the area. And, it worked out. All 5 of these recipients, they participated in the combine last year. You get to know them and are familiar with them. And I tried to be very objective and step aside, just looking at the resumes, the letter of recommendations, and then the board was outstanding. The board was so good about everyone would rate the young men, and then based on the ratings, we gave points, and then from the points, then we had the top ones that we had to vote on.
Well, fantastic. Congratulations for doing this, because it is a tremendous feeling of tremendous need for a lot of young athletes going off to college. And it also is great that you're reaching out to such large area for people, and I commend you for that and your nonprofit organization for doing this. And Coach, when we come back, we'll be talking about a couple of ball games that the Storm has been involved in. So, folks, stay tuned. We'll have more of the Kurtiss Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, and they've been a part of the Storm since day one. And come see what fresh really is, and they deliver anywhere in town. Their subs are just better. We'll be back right after this.
We all know that emergencies happen at the most inconvenient time.
Hey guys, Bellator lightweight champion Michael Chandler here. I'm here at one of my favorite places in the entire world, the wrestling room. But if there's one thing we know about wrestling rooms, they can get extremely dirty. We're talking skin infections, we're talking about funk, we're talking about smelly armpits, we're talking about all kinds of stuff. So, my friends at Pure and Clean Sports came up with an awesome solution. Spray it right on your skin, wipe it off, smells great, keeps you clean from the time you leave the mats to the time you can get home and shower. Not only is it the greatest skin defense in the entire world, it's the safest. Check them out, pureandcleansports.com.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Roste.
And the Storm Weekly Game Recap is brought to you by Eastway Bowl, the perfect spot for family fun, and Eastway Sports Lounge, the official Storm road game viewing party host for all Storm fans. And the next away game viewing party is this coming Friday. Not Saturday, but Friday, 7 o'clock, as the Storm returns out to Grand Island, Nebraska to take on the Danger. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, haven't had a Kurtiss Riggs show since we played Arizona, and so we're going to recap that briefly, then also a little bit about Cedar Rapids. One thing I want to let folks know, and some people didn't realize it, Arizona was flying here to Sioux Falls on Friday during the portion of that blizzard, and they got, and you have to tell the story, but they got very close here and then had to turn around. Is that correct?
Yeah, they got 30 miles from the airport, and then the airport told them they couldn't land. They had to turn around, go back. The plane was it wasn't heavy enough in that wind that was going. So they took off, flew 4 hours, and landed right back in Phoenix.
But they were able to get a flight back, and I have to commend everybody because there are so many people, there are so many things to be able to have to get done to be able to reschedule a game, and it was all taken care of, being able to get them back up here on Sunday and play the game on Monday, and congratulations to everybody, and kudos to you for everyone for getting it all taken care of so that they could play. One question I have, had they been able to land, would we have played that game on Saturday regardless of the weather?
You know, that's really a tough one because beforehand, when I had talked to Todd, there had only been 2 times ever that events at the arena had been canceled. And one was a Skyforce game that was shut down because the entire city was shut down.
Uh-huh.
And then another event which was similar. So going into it, your mindset is, well, they've flown here. If they land, we got to play.
Uh-huh.
But after being in that storm, seeing it, knowing that no one would have been there, and the city was advising no travel, I don't know. I don't know if we would have. I mean, Arizona was staying at the Sheridan, so they would have been able to just walk over, but to get all our players, all our front office, the workers for the Premier Center, and you have to factor in all these elements. It would have been questionable because that was quite the storm we had.
You know, in that ball game, you played the Arizona Rattlers. You were down by as much as 25, and you came back to within 8. Actually, had an onside kick. If that had been recovered, you would have had an opportunity to possibly tie. What was the change from the time you were down by 25, and then you wound up pulling to within 8?
Well, I think what happens, Rich, is someone finally makes a play, and it's like, all of a sudden the adrenaline gets going. You found new life, and you found a spark to kind of build off of, and then the tempo gets a little bit better. You're a little more in tune with what's going on in the game. Whereas, the score right before half, we fumble. They end up getting that score right before half with no time left. They get the ball first, second half, and then they were able to get some stops in there. It's demoralizing, and I was very unhappy about how our players handled it, how our veterans handled it. And thankfully, we finally were able to make a play. Jabari Gorman gets the interception, And all of a sudden now the guys are in it. And we've talked a lot about that cannot be the case. I mean, with indoor games, things can change so quickly, and we've got to recognize that, know that there's going to be ups and downs, and so when there's the downs, we got to find ways to get back to the ups.
Final score was Arizona 48, Sioux Falls Storm 40, and then on the following Saturday, just this past Saturday, Sioux Falls Storm took on Cedar Rapids Titans, and Sioux Falls Storm won that ball game 65-48. The Storm was up by 32, but then Cedar Rapids kept coming back in that game. Tell us about that contest.
Well, it's pretty much like you described. Yeah, we're up 45-13 at halftime, and all we preached at halftime was you cannot go out and be lackluster. You cannot be lackadaisical. You have to come out and, you try to say the cliche things about look at it as 0-0. Look at it as an opportunity to get better. Look at it as an opportunity that someone is watching you, evaluating you. But none of it worked, and we did not go out and play great. Defensively, I thought, especially our defensive line, it was probably one of the worst halves of football that I've seen in quite some time. It was discouraging to see how Cedar Rapids, a team that doesn't run the ball, now is running with success against us, and then we were never able to really throw the quarterback off his marks or change his tempo, and he was able to get in rhythm and do some really nice things with some run-pass option stuff, but we didn't try to really take anything away. Our guys didn't play with any emotion. They just went out. Oh, we scored. Oh, we let them score. Oh, and it was kind of like, let's get through this really long game here.
So when you have that, when you walk away from a game like that, what's your mindset as far as how am I going to set up practices for the week to get ready for a Nebraska team that's been maybe hot and cold, but could become very hot this coming Friday?
Well, I mean, it's tough because we have a unusual week. We play on Friday, so we travel Thursday, so it limits your days. But really the biggest thing is film will show a lot of this, and we're able to address it. And if it's corrections that need to be made because of scheme, then we can do that. But I think a lot of it is motivational. And, I feel like we've got a great staff. We'll find ways. And if we can't find ways, we've been cycling guys through all season. We'll continue to do it if needs be, but I would prefer not. So would the other coaches. I feel like the linebacker that we finally got in, Desmond Reed, I think he's going to be a good one. I think he's going to fit in very well, and I think he'll even bring some leadership that we've desperately missed at that position for a few years now.
One final question. Can you coach playing with heart?
No, you can't. I mean, and I talked to, I can't remember who I was talking to, but we were talking about last time we had a great linebacker that was a great leader, just a great leader. And that's who I think of when you talk about that, like guys with heart. I mean, Mark Blackburn, I was trying to express to someone, he didn't preach all the time, but when he did, everybody listened.
Right.
And he did not just say things about, look at me, look at all my accolades. He never, ever did that. He did it about, here's what we're doing wrong. Here's how we need to fix this together. Here's how we're going to go out on the field and address this situation. Let's pick it up, do this together, and things will be fine. And he was so good on the defensive side at doing that. And there's not many that come along like that.
No.
And you're exactly right. It's really hard. It's really hard to teach someone, to coach someone to dive for a football, Rich, but it's impossible to teach someone to play with heart. I mean, that's something you just have to have ingrained in you.
Coach, good stuff again. A little bit later, we'll be talking about the Nebraska Danger.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
You bet. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. This segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl. And come out there Friday night at 7 for the viewing party. You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on KWSN.
You know, texting while driving is...
The Rostes wanted their new house to be unique.
so they went back to Fireplace Pros. The upstairs is traditional, but the downstairs is very modern. They are delighted.
We wanted a different look and feel within our house, and Fireplace Pros, as always, helped us make it happen. They're the best.
Visit us on the web or stop by your nearest Heat and Glow or Heatalator dealer. Fireplace Pros, Heat and Glow, and Heatalator. You're going to love the way your home feels.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Roste.
And this segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show is the Storm Ticket Giveaway, brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better, and after the interview, we'll take the third caller, 336-1230, 4 free tickets to the next home game. That's May 5th. When the Storm hosts the Iowa Barnstormers. And joining us now via the fan line, he is quarterback with the Sioux Falls Storm. And Dylan Turner, thank you for being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show.
Hey, Rich, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Interesting story. You grew up in Missouri, or check that, Arkansas, but you wound up playing football for Dakota Wesleyan. How did that all work?
Yes, sir. When I was getting recruited out of high school, I came up to a camp at USF, actually, and Coach Semple, I guess, found me there at USF camp, and then they just kind of stayed in contact with me, and then the offer came, and I decided to continue my football career at Dakota Wesleyan.
Well, you had a good career up there. You're two-time GPAC Offensive Player of the Year, and but what was it like for you to go from where you grew up to where you wound up playing?
Well, it was a little bit of a culture shock, I'm not going to lie. Being from Arkansas, there's a lot of hills and trees and things like that. And up here, it's pretty flat and cropland. But, I love the outdoors, and South Dakota has provided a great opportunity for me to be able to do that and in my spare time. And I've worked with the Game and Fish, and it's been really nice to have that kind of feel and things I like to do since I've came up here. So,
well, tell us a little bit about that, working for the South Dakota Game, Fish, and Parks Department. What do you do for them?
Well, this previous summer I was an intern with the wildlife damage specialist. So farmers would call us and say geese were eating their soybeans and causing major economic loss. We'd go out and find ways to prevent the geese from coming into the fields, or coyotes for killing calves or something like that. So
sure.
We would just find ways to help the farmers out, and because there's some rules and regulations for farmers just to go out and do that stuff by themselves. So that's when they'd call us, and we'd go to work.
Now, also, when I have the players come in, I have you guys fill out a form, and you'd written something down that interested me quite a bit. And we'll talk a little bit about your football playing also, but you have livestock, cattle that you have in Missouri. Tell us about that.
Yes, sir. Our family farm is in Ava, Missouri. That's where my grandparents live, and we have about 150 acres. We run around 40 to 60 head of cattle, and whenever I get to go home, that's what I do. I work the cattle, we fix fence, do that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of something that has always been in my family, and the tradition that I've been fortunate enough to keep alive with my mom, with my grandma, and my dad, and my brother, and my grandpa. So something I enjoy doing, and I'm looking forward to going back and helping out some more.
So when you talk about fixing fence, so these are range cattle?
Yeah, we free range all of our cattle on our farm and some land that we lease. So it's a little different than up here where people have them in the big corrals. Since our weather's a little warmer, we just free range them all year and let them graze, and we feed hay and a couple other things like that. So
you don't have a cow-calf operation, but you feed out your steers?
Yes, sir.
Well, now getting back to playing football, you have a kind of a unique distinction. You're 3 for 3 in passing, and you have 3 touchdown passes. Tell us about that.
Yeah, at Zoe playing, I've been able to behind him and ask him, but
we're having you break up just a little bit here. I couldn't quite catch all that, but you talked about playing behind Lorenzo Brown and learning from him, and he is a dandy to learn from. Has the games slowed down any for you, the times that you've been playing, or is it still just really very fast?
Since I came in for fall camp, when I came in, I was like, man, this is really hard, and I was really frustrated. Now I've got to sit back and watch and participate in practice. It's slowed down a lot. Kickoff return helps.
Well, evidently, you're in a location that your phone is breaking up, but I really appreciate your time, Dylan Turner, and so glad to have you a part of the Sioux Falls Storm, and my very best for you as you work with the South Dakota Game Fish and Parks and also raise some cattle down in Missouri.
Well, thanks, Rich. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Dylan Turner, quarterback with the Sioux Falls Storm. I apologize. We just had some difficulties keeping connection with him, but great guy to have on the bus and great guy to have on the team. When we go to break, we'll take the third call, 336-1230. 4 free tickets for the game coming up on May 5th, all brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. We'll be back right after this.
Breathe easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Roste.
And again, this segment brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And when we go to break, we'll take the third caller, 336-1230, for 4 free tickets to the next Storm home game. That's May 5th when the Storm hosts the Iowa Barnstormers. And joining us now, he is the Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm, Jim Loria. And Jim, it has been an amazing ride the last ball games and what you have done and what the organization has done as far as raising funds. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, hi, Rich. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, the last week was just, I've never seen this in my life. I've been involved in 38 years, and I've never seen 2 back-to-back events like they were, come through with the fans and the way the fans poured their heart and soul and supporting. We had the school district fundraiser for the elementary schools backed up. We had the little girl, Rebecca Spader. Her family created a foundation, Legacy Foundation, in her honor, to help kids and families in need. And it raised over $40,000 in the 1 week span. We had the 2 games. So, a tip of the hat is I can't say it enough to the fans, to the sponsors, the people who came out and supported these 2 events, because that's unheard of. I've not seen this before. That level, and how the people reacted. So it's typical of the way the people in our city and our community and our fans of the team react.
And the thing about it is, what people don't realize, that 100% of these funds go to what they are intended. Isn't that true?
They do, and that's what makes the vendors who get involved, like the sponsors, like, for example, the last game, and they were sponsors of the touchdown. Every time we kicked a field goal, people were donating money, and we had Poet, a national global company that came forth and sponsored the silent auction table, believe it or not, and there's all kinds of fun things that go on, and people, businesses especially, can donate money in a different way. We always get called on to donate and do things, and rightfully so. And and when you can do it in a fun way, and you're still making that contribution, that's what makes these promotions really go, Rich. I'll give you an example. Like, we're doing one now, May 5th. It's for the fire. There's a fire. Actually, the division fire chief, Jay Titus, who's been battling cancer, and when the family contacted me, about 3 months ago, we thought this would be a natural to do for the SAC Cancer Night, May 5th. So now the firefighters, these are the guys who save lives. They're going around town and knocking on doors, and they're going to ask businesses that, would you consider coming on board? Typically, they contact myself. Since we kind of know the sponsorship things of what can be done, and we walk them all through it and let these people make decisions on how they can help support the fundraisers, and then there's things in the building like you've seen where we had the jersey raffle and the silent auction table. There's the Thunderball contest, and So those go to the funds as well. So it's a big piece of everything. So there's the advance part of it, and then there's the night of the game part of it. And so, go ahead.
And that's coming up on May 5th.
The May 5th one, yeah, that's going to be the Sac Cancer Night. Now, that's going to have the jerseys the players wear. Those will be raffled off, and now one of our beneficiaries for the night will be Jay Titus's family. And I was talking to his wife, Pam, today, and their family's actually going to create a scholarship because there's a lot of, if you go back to 911, when we all saw the emphasis of how the firefighters save lives, but there's been a lot of cancer that has really hit a lot of firemen throughout the entire country. And so the family is going to create a scholarship that's going to help future firefighters and families if they're affected by cancer from their mom or dad, that there's going to be a scholarship opportunity that they can, or for education purposes for their kids. And so they're going to be one of our beneficiaries. So today I put it out on my Facebook personally because we're trying to help the guys, because they do work 24/7. Most of them work 24/7, 3-4 days a week, and it's difficult for them to get around. But they're wanting to help Jay. It's a real difficult situation he's experienced. So if anybody in the listening audience would love, if you got a business and you want to really help the firemen out, this would be a great chance. You can get a hold of me through email, jim@SiouxFallsStorm.com. And we can let you know how we can help you as a business to help, the firemen out with Jay. And we're also looking for a couple families, Rich. If there's families in the audience listening in right now, if you've got a situation of health where your son or daughter, mom or dad, grandma, grandpa, that maybe is battling cancer, and we're going to try to identify 1 or 2 families that can join in with Jay Titus and make it like a real true Sac Cancer Night. It's going to be May 5th.
Jim, always fantastic stuff. Thank you so very much, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate it.
Jim Lauria, Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm. And we go to break. We'll take your third caller, 336-1230, for 4 free tickets to that May 5th game, courtesy of Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. We'll be back right after this.
Waiting to see a doctor?
What's taking so long?
It can take a while.
I don't have time for this.
Or longer than a while.
We've been here 2 hours.
Forever.
Hello?
What would you say if there was another option?
Finally.
Yes.
It's about time.
We're inclined to agree. It's about time for the best patient care. Sioux Falls Urgent Care.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Roste.
And the game preview is sponsored by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Each week they sponsor this. They're located 917 South Cliff Avenue. Sliced fresh, baked fresh, made fresh. Come see what fresh really is at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Going to be taking on the Nebraska Danger on a Friday night, short week. What concerns you about the Danger?
Well, a good team coming off a loss, having extra time to prepare. Good coaches, experienced coaches. There's quite a bit to worry about with this one.
And like you talked about, they're hungry for a win. They've lost 2 games in a row. And they are now 4-3 on the year, and really want to get up closer to be against Iowa as far as the standings are concerned, battling for that 3rd and 4th position. So when a team is backed against the wall like that, do you expect anything new, or do you just expect maybe some higher intensity?
Yeah, I think the thing you expect most is more emotion. When they play very aggressive, they can be really difficult to handle. Now, maybe offensively, maybe another quarterback. I don't know. I didn't think Scroggins played very well against Iowa, but he also wasn't able to use his athleticism, which I think is one of his strengths. But the emotion part would be the biggest thing. Back against the wall, just like you said. They've got too many good players, too many veterans to just say, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. And, they're going to come out fighting.
Storm played them earlier this year out in Nebraska. Storm victorious 45-37. The Storm was able to force some turnovers that were critical in that ball game. And you talked about Scroggins, but their wide receiver, Eric Thomas and Gregory Dent, those are the two guys that, as far as the aerial attack is concerned, those are the guys that come to mind for me right away, especially Eric Thomas.
Yeah, he's put together quite a season. I mean, he has looked very good. And, he's much faster than you think, and he's very strong. He's a difficult back to bring down. You've really got to make sure you're driving through him and wrapping up when you go at him.
They average about 43 points a ball game. They give up about 39. Angelo Peace, former Storm running back, has been running the ball for them, has 4 rushing touchdowns. Scroggins has 3, but Angelo Peace, he's a strong running back, isn't he?
He is, yeah. I mean, that's never been in question with Angelo. And to his credit, he's been able to stay healthy so far this season. That's kind of been one of his ailments. But you're right. I mean, he's very strong. When he gets out in the open, he's a lot faster than you think. And he's been doing a nice job for them running the ball.
How about the defense of Nebraska?
Well, I think it still works around Xavier up front. I think Phil Lewis has done a nice job at nose guard for him. Their linebacker is getting more and more comfortable with the indoor game. He's very athletic, and he can really get to the football. And then they've got some aggressive DBs. I mean, they've got some guys that will really come downhill hard, and hopefully we can take advantage of that. I think they'll be prepared for it. And the tough part, Rich, is that field is really tough to do a lot of the things we do because it's very difficult to cut on because it's so slippery. And so we know this, though. We got to be prepared for it, and we got to go in not trying to rely on having a lot of quick cuts. We've got to be able to make sure that we're one cut and go, and it's a cut where you really make sure you get your foot down.
I talked about what are your concerns about Nebraska. Going into this ball game, what are your concerns about the Storm?
Well, one thing for us, Rich, is playing hard. I mean, the first half against Cedar, we play hard and we look really good. But the second half, we don't play hard and we look terrible. And, Arizona, we come out and we don't play very hard the first half and we look terrible. In the second half, when we finally wake up, I would say fourth quarter, we look pretty good. But how do we get it all together? And, last time against Nebraska, I thought we played pretty good for 4 quarters. We did a pretty good job. Nebraska stayed around in the game, but it felt like we controlled that game from beginning to end. And we've got to find a way to get back to that. And, that'll be our emphasis this week in practice.
That pretty much wraps up the keys to the games as far as that's concerned, too. So, Coach, what time do we leave on Thursday?
We are departing at 4:06, Rich. 4:06, we'll take off, and we'll just bask in the beauty of driving to Grand Island, Nebraska.
Well, I'm going to have to rearrange my nap time in the afternoon so I can make the bus at 4:06. So anyway,
you better not be late.
I best not be late. Well, thanks a lot, Coach. We'll talk to you on the bus on Thursday.
All right, thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. This segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs and 917 South Cliff Avenue. And sliced fresh, baked fresh, made fresh. Come see what fresh really is at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. When we come back, we'll wrap this Kurtiss Riggs show up, and you've been listening to it right here on KWSN. Back right after this.
Are you looking for that first apartment? Better yet.
Your body is a complex arrangement of bone and tissue that requires only the best to maintain it. At Orthopedic Institute, that's our specialty. Our services have been specifically tailored to provide the best orthopedic care in the region. Orthopedics is what we do. That's why Orthopedic Institute is the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Roste.
And the Kurtiss Riggs Show, if you don't have a chance to listen to it now or you want to listen to it again, you can go to the Storm website, and the podcast is there, and you can watch the entire thing, probably starting sometime tomorrow afternoon. But that's all courtesy of Boyer Ford Trucks, celebrating 30 years of being employee-owned sales parts service. We keep you moving, and that is Boyer Ford Trucks. When we go off to the air, we'll have another giveaway for the Lewis Pharmacy's 4 free tickets to the May 5th game when the Storm hosts the Iowa Barnstormers. Get in, get out, feel better. That's Lewis Pharmacies. Thank you to the Storm head coach, Kurtiss Riggs, along with our guests, Dylan Turner and Jim Loria. And this week, the Storm is at Nebraska Danger, and the away game viewing party will be at the Eastway Lounge at 7 o'clock on Friday. The Kurtiss Riggs Show, proudly presented each week by the Sioux Falls Storm official medicine providers, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Thank you to John Michaels, our KWSN studio producer and engineer, along with all of you, our listening audience, for making us a part of your day. And you've been listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1 AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Have a great evening, everybody. Good night.